Trapmore Gang, I have an update for you guys. As a result of the assassination of El Mencho, we're now seeing some very, very interesting things happening at the very top of the CJNG cartel. There's rumors that apparently he was replaced. There was rumors that his replacement was already assassinated, and now he might have another replacement. But what's really crazy is that there are actually rumors that the potential leader of this cartel right now might actually be an American. So I'm going to break it all down to you in this video. I'm going to let you know everything that's been going on in Mexico with the cartel, with the power vacuum that happened after El Mencho's assassination. And the CJNG empire is now moving into a new phase. And it seems like maybe it might not be over. It might just be beginning. So, you know what I'm saying? You might want to cancel them World Cup games. You might want to move those over. Maybe send them to England. Let the UK get those World Cup games, Mexico. You know what I'm saying? We'll grab those. You don't need those. You got too much on your plate with the cartels and the cocaine and all that stuff. So maybe we'll take those from you. But anyway, the first thing I want to show you guys, okay, is some more information that has come out of the insane weaponry that was basically found at the villa where El Mencho spent his final moments. Now, I did show you previously in a video the other day just about how kind of the lavish living that El Mencho was doing when he was, well, I say captured. He was briefly captured, actually, but really it went down like an assassination. I guess it was sort of a botched capture assassination operation. But basically, huge weaponry, rocket launchers have been seized. They got a whole bunch of missiles, rockets. These guys were fully militarized. This is a whole cache of firearms, assault rifles, bullets, explosives, what look like rocket launchers. They seized a whole bunch of stuff. Is that some sort of tactical knife as well that we're seeing there? I don't actually know what these are. They could be some explosive devices. I don't really know. But it was a whole arsenal of weapons, and the guys were very, very serious, essentially. It was insane. So people are actually saying, so I don't know a lot about these weapons, so we're going to let the comments decide. It's saying hella anti-tank disposable rocket-propelled grenades. They had the tools, but not the time to react. Even with all of that, it would have been difficult to escape out of that situation. So they had the anti-tank weapons on deck, but they unfortunately didn't have the time or the wherewithal to use them. Well, maybe fortunately. We don't want to see the military getting blown to smithereens like that, do we? Not again. I haven't seen all of those monstros, and I still haven't seen all those monstros they would brag about, or any minigun. I don't really know what a monstro is. Monstros are in war zones, Zacatecas, southern Michigan, etc. Why would there be a monstro and a minigun protecting him? Would be too obvious. Why have they got them in Michigan? They're saying they're getting new brakes. Let me look up what that is. Okay, it took me a minute to find this out because, funnily enough, it was telling me it was a whale for a minute, but that's not what I'm looking for. It says, in a military and criminal context, monstro is Spanish for monster. It refers to a heavily armored DIY combat vehicle used by Mexican drug cartels, particularly the Zetas cartel. These are called narco tanks, modified trucks with a thick welded metal plating, firing ports, and often a ramming prow designed to withstand machine gun fire and explosives during turf wars. So I guess the more you know, that's very, very interesting, okay? What are they doing in Michigan? They're getting new brakes. They actually send them to Michigan to get repaired. That's insane, if that's the case. Wow. All right. It says only in the Sierra is where the capos have a lot of armed security. When capos go down to the pueblos or cities, they only keep a small security circle. You can't move around with a lot of armed men and not get attention. So there's more pictures going around of some of the weapons that were seized. These guys were serious, honestly. What they were rolling around with was absolutely monstrous. I'm tell you what, I won't show you. Let me check what this is before I show it to you. Okay, I'm not sure about that first image. I'm just not sure about that first image, but the rest of this is some serious high power weaponry that was apparently seized. Big. It's got a grenade launcher on the front of this AR. This is insane. Full blown RPG, looking like Rondo number 9 with that one. That's insane. All right, big artillery. Big weaponry, right? These are more weapons that were seized during the operation that took down El Mencho. People are saying multiple of his personal security that were arrested during this operation were transferred late at night, early morning to El Altiplano. And people saying, how did he get caught with this much artillery? If we were going by muscle, El Mencho was the most powerful drug lord ever. People saying, relatively speaking, even the RPG is not really that powerful against a full-blown military unit coming at you. Most modern armored vehicles can shrug off those old rounds. The standard cone-shaped RPG rocket you see everywhere was actually made when tanks could be pierced by 50 cals. People are saying, exactly, the RPGs are visually impressive, but they wouldn't do so much against the sandcats that were actually chasing Mencho up that hillside. And the chances of hitting one of those low-flying Black Hawks or Cougars with an RPG is extremely low, and the Black Hawk would just shrug it off anyway unless they hit the rotor. Crazy. I don't know, man. The Somalians took down 2 Black Hawks with RPGs. Have you ever seen Black Hawk down? Now, I believe they did take down a military helicopter with an RPG in the past, but I'm not sure if it was a Black Hawk. I'm not sure if they used a bunch of rounds, but they did say that they used an RPG to do that. The saying was probably got caught sleeping since it was early in the morning. They weren't ready for the surprise. Even if they were ready, they stood no chance. They had a bunch of sandcats and they were on their ass like King Von and them. And they had a helicopter too. Maybe if they had more people, but I would have doubted it. They're saying when Ovidio was detained, I remember reading the type of security these guys had, and it made sense to me how they got away so often. They basically have a few circles with alcones or lookouts, and they're on the lookout 24/7 for any military activity. For example, Circle 4 contacts, Circle 3 and/or Circle 2, etc. Mencho is in Circle 1. By the time the military gets there, Mencho would have been gone. It's very surprising how they got him, considering he was paranoid, very low-key, and had a very sophisticated security team. I read that he knew 9 hours before that they were coming for him, and that he got the word while counting $50 million. Could you imagine that? That's insane. Saying he got the word while he was counting up 50 M's. These guys are moving different. I'm not absolutely insane. Okay, so what I'm going to pull up for you guys next is some more coverage, basically, of the villa and the location where he basically was captured from just before he passed away. I did show you some of this, some of just like the little candid images from inside the villa, but now we're seeing a much more kind of comprehensive view of the property and some of the damage that the property sustained during this attempted capture operation that unfortunately led to him losing his life. So check this out.
A sleek, modern villa was where Nemesio Oseguera, leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, spent his final hours. Reuters footage shows the home's messy kitchen, with cartons of milk, spoiled strawberries, unfinished pastry, and boxes of produce left on the floor. Bottles of hygiene and skincare products, vitamins, and empty boxes of luxury items were also
He got Balmain and Hermes on there, man. He got the designer on deck. What the hell?
Inside. There is also a small makeshift altar with Catholic figures including the Virgin of Guadalupe, Mexico's patroness, and St. Jude, the patron saint of lost causes. The two-story villa sits inside the exclusive Tapalpa Country Club.
They just said the patron saint of lost causes. That's crazy.
A gated enclave of weekend homes in the hills of Jalisco. Authorities had been led there by a tip tied to Oseguera's lover. Burned-out cars and trucks sat on some of the roads encircling the compound after a siege-like raid by the military on Sunday. Oseguera, better known as El Mencho, tried to escape through the back garden to a wooded hillside but was hit by gunfire during the pursuit. Authorities said he died of his injuries while being airlifted away. Tapalpa has faced scrutiny before. 10 years ago, the U.S. Treasury Department imposed sanctions on several businesses in the area, alleging they were used to launder money for the Jalisco Cartel and its financial arm.
So clearly the Jalisco Cartel were plugged in at this country club, right? Must be a rocking, rocking round of golf over there. They're saying, lol, all the stuff he did, and he had the nerve to think that he was religious and prayed to God. Dude's in hell, but that's a crazy comment. I can't, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to disrespect nobody, but that is crazy. The burnt remains. Oh my god. Okay. We're not gonna do all that. We're not gonna do all that. Okay. So investigators would also apparently uncover El Mencho's detailed accounting ledgers. Now that's very unfortunate. They likely would have found probably some very interesting and useful evidence in that property. And, essentially they're going to be able to actually get to the core of some of his operations. It's explaining, kilos going to certain people on certain dates, like keeping this hard-coded in paper is crazy. Look at how many kilos he was moving. This looks like September 2025. 200 kilos there, 100 kilos, 200, 110, 20. Is that 35 or just 5, 35, 25, 55, 15 kilos, 20 kilos, 60 kilos, 17 kilos, 20 kilos, 20 kilos, 6 kilos, right? Insane amount of kilos. This is money coming in, right? $291,000, money being put aside for specific things, all right? They're getting all the info they needed. This was being run like a true business enterprise, okay? They were saying that the company, or the cartel company, whatever you want to call it, was bringing in billions of dollars. It was worth $50 billion. They're saying we got the El Mencho files before the Epstein files. That's insane. We technically did get the Epstein files already. So saying Mencho was CEO, COO, CFO, CCO, and HR. He was the IT department too. He was the customer service representative, all right? He was absolutely everything, all right? And that's how I don't understand how they caught him slipping. How is it that Reddit knew about the whole drone usage and he didn't? I'm for sure that they'll be using anti-drones more often after this. Now, I see a couple of famous names on those records. Saying these famous names received smaller quantities, but Guerrero Galero received 1,000 kilos. Any info on that character? I don't want to get to that. Saying Guzman on there too. There's hundreds of families with Guzman last name who all live around Mexico who are not related to the El Chapo Guzman, you know. But anyway, saying 15 kilos of ice doesn't sound like too much. I don't know about that. Saying the guys in debt, seeing the list was discovered, are very disappointed. O3 will definitely collect all the debts. Now, I'm going to break down to you who's in control now. They're saying there's O2, O1, O3. There's basically rankings within the cartel, and people will be taking over. People saying, wow, this is interesting. From my minimal Spanish knowledge, on the last side, the bottom says Fondo Limpito pertain to money that was cleansed. I'm guessing profits or legal profits they made that weren't from illegal activities. They're saying the Mexican Epstein Files Narco Edition. That's insane. Okay. So following El Mencho's death, they're saying now that several key figures were now being identified as potential heirs to the CJNG drug empire. So this has been going around. It says these are all the possible heirs to the CJNG leadership. Now, I'm going to tell you a bit more about some of these guys in a minute, okay? But some of these names are interesting. This is Juan Carlos Valencia Gonzalez, aka LO3. Apparently, there were rankings of El Mencho, there was LO2, LO3, different rankings as far as family connections. I don't know if I want to just read everyone's name because, you know what I'm saying, if any of these guys do take over and they get it booming again, I don't want to be in any trouble. But they're saying that basically these are some of the people who could be taking the reins of the operation. You know, congratulations to your new position as CEO. You know what I'm saying? Best of luck. I'm not even going to read that. All right. I'm not, you know what? there's a gangster called Double R in the UK who's definitely on some cartel stuff. That okay. So apparently, all right, reports have actually been circulating that potential successor and financial backer to the cartel, basically, apparently the people that were going to take over the next in command may well have already lost their lives and been taken out. So it was going around. They're saying Mexican cartel boss El Mencho's potential successor already killed after putting bounty on soldiers. There had been speculation the Mexican cartel drug boss known as El Tuli was set to take over running the Jalisco New Generation cartel following the death of Kingpin El Mencho, but unfortunately, that's not going to be able to happen. It says a second senior member of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, the CJNG, has already been killed by special forces. The drug boss, known as El Tuli, was killed by Mexican special forces in another operation following the death of the cartel boss, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, the authorities. This go anywhere? Is that it? These websites suck, man. These big companies like the Mirror, absolutely awful websites. It's actually embarrassing. El Tuli was the cartel leader's top financial and logistics chief, Mexico's defense ministry has said, and he's helped orchestrate retaliatory attacks across Jalisco and after El Mencho was killed in the army raid on Sunday. Officials said that he was fatally shot while attempting to flee, and El Tuli, whose real name was Hugo Cesar Macias Urena, was allegedly responsible for orchestrating the retaliatory attacks across Mexico in the wake of Oseguera's killing, officials said. Defense sources said he offered 20,000 pesos, about 858 pounds, for each soldier killed during the clashes. Mexican authorities have now seized more than 7.2 million pesos, about 300,000 pounds, $965,000 in US currency, weapons, and the vehicle used in his attempted escape. So violence has swept across a wide swathe of Mexico following his death, centered on the state of Jalisco, the power base of the slain drug lord. There were 65 roadblocks, many in the form of blazing vehicles, reported in the region amid the violence on Sunday, with gang members burning and shooting in the streets of the regional capital, Puerto Vallarta. Now, cartel members also apparently set alight dozens of banks and local businesses, such as pharmacies across the region, and more than 60 people had died across 20 Mexican states during the violence. This included a pregnant woman, 25 National Guard soldiers, agents, and police officers, and 34 cartel members among those who died in the unrest since Sunday. And this Costco, you heard me in my previous video, man, not the Costcos. Look at all the burnt cars outside the Costco, man. Can't the cartels just leave the Costco alone? Let the people have their bargains, for God's sake, right? It's actually the biggest tragedy of all. I'm joking. The woman who was 3 months pregnant died during a shootout between the National Guard and the CJNG members. Now, that's really sad because let's be real, all right? You're all adults. We don't need to be having pregnant women be killed. This is the next generation. It's so sad. They were stopping vehicles and setting them alight at the intersection of Avendina de la Mancha and Covadonga in Zapopan. The 25 National Guard members were killed in 6 separate attacks, according to Security Secretary Omar Garcia Harfuch. A riot also broke out at the Ixtapa State Prison in Puerto Vallarta, resulting in the death of a guard. Federal forces carried out an operation in Tapalalpa a few hours ago, which led to clashes in that area. Jalisco Governor Pueblo Lemus Navarro said on X Sunday, also as a result of a said operation in various points of that region and in other parts of Jalisco, individuals have burned and blocked vehicles with the aim of hindering the actions of authorities. Navarro added that much of Jalisco was in a code red, right? It is a code red now. We've already heard some of this stuff. So reports have actually been coming out that another guy that was known as LR1, the son of one of the potential successors, has also, unfortunately, for the family, lost their lives too. So this is an article that's going around. It says, unofficial reports indicate that Ruben Guerrero Valadez, alias LR1, son of Heraclio Guerrero Martinez, alias El Tio Laco, has also lost his life. So really, it does seem like the authorities are actually just ruthlessly taking out absolutely anybody that they can get their hands on. It says, amid the escalating violence engulfing the state of Jalisco following the death of El Mencho, after an operation in Taupalpa, Jalisco, unofficial reports suggest that Ruben Guerrero Valdez, alias LR1, was among those killed during recent armed clashes with the CJNG and federal forces. Guerrero Valdez is identified by intelligence sources as the son of Heraclio Guerrero Martinez, alias Tio Laco, a prominent figure within the organization. So sources close to the investigation confirmed that after the ceasefire at one of the conflict zones, remains were found that matched the physical description of LR1. However, state and federal authorities have remained cautious, noting the individual's identity is still being confirmed. Now, if you were about to be part of the crew that's taken over the cartel, would be a sweet time to fake your death and stay out of the way, because then they don't know what to look for. I don't know if that. So basically, it says the possible death of LR1 comes amid a series of high-intensity armed clashes with security forces and criminal cells. The operations led by the Mexican Army and the National Guard have the primary objective of dismantling the operational commands that have coordinated the attacks and roadblocks in the state following the killing of the CJNG's top leadership. If his death is confirmed, it would represent a significant blow to the logistics and command of the groups that maintain control in key areas of Jalisco along its borders with neighboring states. The Guerrero surname is linked to a long-standing network of influence in the region, so its loss could lead to the further fragmentation of internal power struggles within the criminal organization. For the moment, security forces are maintaining their operational deployment to restore public order, while the population awaits an official report confirming this and other consequences of the violent day. It is very, very tense over there at the moment. Now, there would be a more detailed explanation on Reddit explaining how this individual, who they rumored might have lost his life, actually fit into the organization. So this says LR1 Ruben Guerrero Valadez. More photos crying his death. Maybe that means confirming his death. This looks like it's been translated. This is basically the organization of... I don't want to see the photo of his death. Please don't be the photo. Okay, so this just kind of gives a little bit of a breakdown. I'm not going to lie, like the way this is lined up, this almost looks like it's looking like a Spotify playlist or something. I don't fully know exactly how this breaks down, but it basically says the last photo is a Mexican politician who is allegedly crying about the terrorist death. Basically, LR1 is a member of the CJNG faction Los Guerreros and its armed wing Grupo Panteras. He's the son of Tio Laco, I've said that a million, and the cousin of LO8, two high-ranking CJNG lieutenants. LR1 has a group of hitmen that work under him called Mando R. That's pretty crazy. Don't want to disrespect him. Rest in peace, man. Basically, it says on the right, social media posts that blogs like Blog del Narco and accounts like other narco accounts are posting and reporting on seems to suggest his death. As we can see, the dove emoji with R1 there. There's a false rumor of R1's death circulated in November of 2025. This image showed Contramuros reporting about R1's alleged death during the narco blockades to prevent the arrest of El Camaleon. Very interesting. So, this appears to be a mural to him, and obviously, look, we cover a lot of drill, gangster rap, street gangs, African-American gangs, you might want to say. Not necessarily. I mean, we've covered different types of gangs, especially in the UK, India, Australia. But anyway, we see these sorts of murals often when gang members get killed, you know, Bloods, Crips, GDs, active gang. These are the sorts of things that you see in the streets. So it's no different when it comes to the narco gangs. So the image on the left is an alleged memorial that was made for R1, reposted by an relative of LR1. And this is kind of like a bit more of a breakdown. Why can't I just get guys? So yeah, that talks about El Mencho being killed. You don't need to be told that again. So there's information about LR1 basically. It says on their backs they carry it. Bulletproof vests which say Fueras Especials R1, Special Forces R1. He had his own special forces. I'm scared of this guy. This guy's tough. LR1's hitmen squad is called Mando R or Fuerzas Especials Mando R. Social media photos show some of their patches. They have a special patch they wear. And if these guys are coming at you, you're in big trouble. Okay, they had their own fitted caps made. It's actually crazy. These look sick. I'm not going to lie. I might need to get one of these. Actually, maybe I'm not allowed. I'll take that back. I'll take that back. I just want to admire that these are really, really cool. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Are these song lyrics? Was he a musician as well? No way was he making music. What? These are lyrics from songs. Was he actually putting music out? No flipping way. Are these songs? R1, LR1. Are these actually songs? Because it says lyrics here. Here it says lyrics. Firm with LOA in good and bad times. He knows I'm there. Maybe these are other people rapping about R1. It says, yes, sir, I'm the son of El Tio Larco. That sounds like he's rapping. Sounds like he's the one rapping. He's a rap. That's insane. I'm riveted by this. Okay, this is so crazy. The one who's out there in Michoacán, the one who rolls with all of his hitmen, and I roll with mine too. That's crazy. It sounds like he was actually making music. Wait, this is crazy. All right, this is information about LR1. It says use of music as propaganda. The CJNG uses rap and trap music as a tool to project power, control, and intimidation. LR1's armed wing Los Cannabis utilizes his music to create a narrative of dominance and to identify themselves. Narco rap lyrics. Songs associated with this group, often found on platforms like YouTube, reference LR1 as the leader with lyrics detailing armed confrontations and the RS referring to his hierarchy. That's insane. That is insane. All right, I'm going to do a whole video about that. Don't you worry. Okay, that's actually blown my mind. That's honestly blown my mind. But I'm gonna look deeper into that in another video for you guys. Okay, but basically, this is kind of breaking down some of the family tree. This is only showing the ones relevant to cartel history. Saying he's dead. Tio Larco, LR1 there, LO8, who was discussed. El Javi, LR2, LJ1. It is actually really, really interesting. So they're saying that that's actually a photo from a funeral procession. So we're not, just for the record, we're not seeing any death here, but saying there's tributes made to him. And again, this is just like we see in the rap and drill community. People get killed. There's vigils, there's murals. I know this is a normal thing when people pass away, but I'm just trying to make you guys understand just how similar this is. I don't know who that is. I don't know if we'll get into all that. But anyway, okay, there have been more people being tracked down that are connected to the CJNG. Just days later, after this incident that I break down as far as LR1 losing his life allegedly, El Hacha, another powerful regional leader for the CJNG, had actually also been tracked down and allegedly arrested. Okay, so it's in this post basically saying El Hacha, a leader of La Barandona, a wing of CJNG, has been arrested, and there appears to be him in custody there. So they're getting busy. It says Blog del Narco reports on the arrest in a coordinated precision operation. Federal forces arrested Isaac, known as El Hacha, a high-priority target and key operator for the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generacion, CJNG. That's how they say it. Identified as the leader of La Baradora in the municipality of Santa Cruz, Tlaxcala. He was captured by San Miguel Contla by a joint task force, including the SSPC, FGR, Sedena, and the National Guard. El Hacha was intercepted driving a vehicle without license plates. Authorities seized various illicit narcotics and a frag grenade from him. Official reports identify him as a primary cause of violent acts in the region, serving as a regional boss, Jefe de Plaza, for the criminal organization as it attempted to expand its territorial control into central Mexico. He has been turned over to the appropriate authorities to face charges related to drug trafficking and the illegal possession of an explosive device restricted for military use. Crazy, right? They're crazy. So, apparently now they're basically saying that the main successor for the crew, for the set, for the cartel is now LO3, okay, who actually happens to be El Mencho's stepson. And there's some interesting backstory about him. He was actually allegedly born in the United States. So this says quick facts about O3, the Orange County born Narco heir, now tipped to succeed El Mencho at the top of the CJNG. So this article basically goes on to say Juan Carlos Valencia Gonzalez, a U.S. citizen, rises as the CJNG's new leader, and he's reshaping Mexico's cartel power dynamics. Now, if this guy's born in the United States, that's going to make him a pretty smooth operator. Now, you already saw the video that I did on my main channel about Ryan Wedding, and basically, let me go. So you probably already saw the video I did on my main channel about Ryan Wedding that was basically about how he was actually, he was Canadian, but he kind of had North America on lock when it came to the cartels. He was apparently tapped in with the Sinaloa cartel, which obviously El Chapo was famous for. But basically, these guys being born in America, they're saying this guy was born in Orange County, man. This is the death of El Mencho. Has left a power vacuum at the top of one of the world's most dangerous criminal organizations. And within hours, a new name began circulating in intelligence circles among anonymous cartel sources. Juan Carlos Valencia Gonzalez, alias O3, an anonymous CJNG source, claimed that he had already been named as the new leader. Okay, and the development carries an extraordinary twist. He was born in Santa Ana, California, making him an American citizen by birth. And he's now allegedly at the helm of Mexico's most feared drug trafficking organization. Now, Mexican authorities had not officially confirmed the succession at the time of writing, but nonetheless, the security analysis and intelligence agencies on both sides of the US-Mexico border had long identified O3 as the most likely heir given his bloodline, his operational command, and his deep roots within the cartel's power structure. Born in the USA, bred for the cartel. That's what it says. So according to the Department of State, he was born on the 12th of September 1984 in Santa Ana, California. He holds both American and Mexican citizenship. That's gonna be handy, I guess. Probably can't come back to America now unless he's got another identity. He apparently goes by multiple aliases, including El Pelon, LJP, Tricky Trace, and R3. His connection to the CJNG is not merely operational, it's deeply familial. His mother, Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia, is married to El Mencho, making the slain cartel boss his stepfather. His biological father's family carries equal criminal weight. Los Cunis were tied to drug lord Armando Valencia Cornelio, alias El Maradona, leader of the now defunct Milenio cartel, after working in a group of hitmen protecting Armando Valencia Cornelio. El Mencho joined a block of the Milenio cartel allied with Ignacio Coronel Villarreal, Sinaloa cartel capo, placing O3 at the intersection of two of Mexico's most powerful criminal dynasties. The man behind Grupo Elite. Authorities have identified him, Valencia Gonzalez, is the founder and coordinator of Grupo Elite, the CJNG's primary armed wing, established in 2019 with territorial reach extending across Michoacan, Zacatecas, and Guanajuato. I need to brush up on my Spanish rules. This paramilitary unit is described as one of the cartel's most tactically sophisticated forces, capable of deploying rocket launchers and conducting high-impact operations. A DEA investigation found he was responsible for the manufacturing, transportation, and distribution of narcotics in large quantities, as well as organizing numerous violent crimes. In 2020, Mexico's then Secretary of Defense, Luis Crescencio Sandoval Gonzalez. They be coming with the quadruple-barreled names in Mexico. It's interesting. They publicly identified him as one of the leaders of Grupo Elite during a press conference hosted by former President López Obrador. He's apparently got $5 million bounty on his head from the U.S. State Department's narcotics reward program. They're offering $5 million for any information leading to his capture. Now, it's not quite. I think they had 15 mil on El Mencho's head. But hey, that's very respectable, man. And they're saying the figure might not remain static. They're apparently saying that the bounty is about to be revised upwards now that he's taken El Mencho's spot. And apparently his half-brother, Ruben Oseguera Gonzalez, a.k.a. El Menchito, had once been considered the natural heir to the CJNG leadership. However, El Menchito was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years and ordered to forfeit over, you ready for this, $6 billion in drug trafficking proceeds, clearing the path for O3 to step forward. Now, it just goes to show you, these things do not end. Now, saying his mother's shadow and Los Cunis, Valencia Gonzalez does not operate alone. His mother, Rosalinda Gonzalez Valencia, played a major role in Los Cunis, the CJNG's main money laundering wing prior to her capture. She has since been released from prison and is expected, according to multiple organized crime analysts, to play a significant role alongside her son in steering the cartel's financial operations going forward. This dual grip, military enforcement through Grupo Elite and financial infrastructure through Los Cunis, I hope I'm saying that right, gives O3 a structural advantage over other potential rivals within the organization. So this is some backstory on him, saying that he has taken over. He's El Mencho's stepson. Let's see this X post. Let's see the video. It's probably in Spanish, but let's see.
Delta del Jefe 3, y nosotros nos deslindamos de la manta que pusimos.
All right, well, you can see what's going on here, okay? You can see very heavily armed, very serious. I am scared. So it says, what could his rise mean? Security analyst David Saucedo, I'm going to say Saucedo, warned that if relatives of El Mencho assume power, the violence seen in Mexico following his death would continue. The days after El Mencho's killing saw hundreds of narco blockades reported across 20 Mexican states, underscoring the cartel's capacity for retaliation and the volatility of any leadership transition. His whereabouts remain unknown, although he's believed to be operating from the mountainous regions of Jalisco or neighboring states. I would keep his location secret, knowing everything. Oh, that's crazy. The reported rise of an American-born citizen to the leadership of Mexico's most violent cartel adds a significant and complicated dimension to U.S.-Mexico security relations, particularly at a time when the Trump admin has escalated pressure on Mexican cartels, including designating the CJNG as a foreign terrorist organization. So should the succession be confirmed, he would not only be one of the most wanted men in the Western Hemisphere, but a U.S. citizen directing a criminal enterprise responsible for trafficking fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine into American cities. Now, that's so interesting because I feel like that means that, like, you know, it's easy for Trump to be doing the old, oh, you know, we got to get these, you know, sending ICE and vilifying the Mexican community. But if it's come to find out this guy's a dual citizen, he's an American too, it might make them go after him even more heavily. Okay, so there's been a bunch of reports that he has seized the throne. This is going around all the narco Reddit communities. Okay. What's important of this announcement is that Los Cunis now have control of the CJNG, so it's basically claiming that LO3 and his faction are now in charge of the cartel. As I made the list of the active members, the mother of LO3, the uncles of LO3, and the aunts of LO3. I'm not going to read all their names because let's just leave them alone. Oh my God. So it's always been the Cunis cartel. El Mencho married into the cartel and was basically the armed wing leader, but the true power has always been with the Valencia Cunis family. Now the ex-wife will become somebody not to be messed with, as she kind of always has been. People saying, aren't they the original founders? It was pretty obvious. I mean, what number comes after 1 and 2? But jokes aside, do you think LRRYL Jardinero will be okay with it? If yes, what roles do you think they will take? Expect them to take place. There'll be plaza bosses for the states, and they'll in GTO and Nayarit. The one that everyone should be worried about is El Sapo. Lol, he will be okay with it. He's had beef with LO3 before. Isn't Sapo deceased? Only saying because many reports stated he was injured or murked during the raids and was alongside El Mencho on the plane that the Marines took off in. If so, then O3 doesn't have to worry about that devil reincarnated man. They're saying Sapo didn't get the 41. Nothing was confirmed. So they're saying there could be internal beef. People saying how bad or evil was El Sapo? El Sapo was the one responsible for those 5 university students in Lagos de Moreno, the one where they forced them to beat their friend to death with a brick. And they're saying that was on video. It was on video, and the families were looking for them till the video came out. That is so sad. So LO3 became the first American to become leader of a Mexican cartel. That is right. And while Lababi didn't have a major cartel, he was the boss of his faction. I need to look into him. So as the Mexican military is kind of continuing, they're still running massive operations across the country, and even members of the police forces are actually getting arrested. This is local police officers in Ecuanduero, Michoacan, were arrested after they allegedly participated in the burnings and blockades during Sunday's events. Local police officers were participating in the burnings and blockades. How insane is that? Apparently, the police director was among those arrested too. So the cops are in trouble with the military. Who will police the police? All right, and it's not the Coast Guard. So we're also seeing here, okay, as of the 26th of February, just yesterday, Mexican forces are still running operations across the country. You know, people think that they're maybe clearing it up for the World Cup, or maybe it's just that time. But as you're going to see here, there's still confrontations between military forces and the CJNG being reported in Tuxpan, Jalisco, and a military helicopter was reported flying in the area. Now, they're lucky helicopters weren't getting shot down like they were a few years ago. Hopefully, things can calm down soon, but we're seeing footage now of operations being conducted on the farm by the looks of it. Hearing gunshots in the distance. If you can hear that. So things are still going on. They're still fighting. It says at first I thought it was an ambush, but when there's a helicopter, maybe there's an operation. It was indeed an operation, but no further updates regarding it. It could still be ongoing. So the situation hasn't improved like the Mexican government claims. Is CJNG still throwing a fit? They're saying it was an operation. It is crazy. So look, I do think this is really interesting. I've actually found this very fascinating to learn about. I have always had an interest in the kind of narco drug gangs. A lot of people have said to me, why don't you cover them? Why don't you cover them? I find them quite scary. And also there used to be a term in the YouTube terms of service where you actually weren't supposed to talk about them. I don't know if that's actually still the case. But it does appear that, you know, because this has been such a major news story, major news outlets are covering it, it does seem like this is fair game. And I certainly won't be insulting or exposing any cartel members. I'm going to be following the news on this case. But I'm glad that you guys have found this interesting. I found it really interesting to be covering this stuff. And it is a little bit different. You know, I think covering some of the Trump updates, the Epstein files, obviously the American gang politics that I cover normally, it makes a lot of sense. Now I'm hearing that, you know, members of this cartel are actually making music about what's going on. You know, I don't know whether it could be called drill music. I'm going to look into it a little bit further. Me and my research are going to dig into that a little bit deeper, maybe over the next few days, and I'll let you guys, know about just any more information that I find out about how the music is actually being used in these drug wars. It's really fascinating. So, hope you found that interesting. Let me know what you thought. And by the way, just a little something I want to let you guys know. Okay, just something I want to let you guys know about. I did just drop another video. Now, I did just drop another video. Okay, I actually just dropped a video on clavicular on my new channel, Influencers Exposed. Okay, go and check that out if you haven't had a minute. All right, go and check it out. Let me know what you thought of it. I've wanted to make a documentary on this guy for a while. We're doing short documentaries over on that channel about influencers. Okay, this is a new thing. I think this is the 4th video that I've done over there. This is just a whole new outlet for me. I'm kind of using this as just a place to share videos about different topics, more about influencers, streamers, stuff like that. I do feel like that type of content, maybe you guys don't like it. We're on the more true crime vibes on this channel. So I think it would be easier to just kind of segment that and keep different topics in different channels going for a minute. But if you like that, if you like this, go and check that video out. Also, okay, it is interesting. I dropped a full documentary about YNW Melly. People have been telling me for ages to cover YNW Melly. I did this on the main channel. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed with how well this performed. I thought this was a great documentary. This has got stuff in it that nobody has ever heard before. Nobody has ever explored. And maybe, you know, we're over talking about Melly right now. I don't know. I think this channel's got big problems right now. But quite frankly, I'm enjoying working on this channel much more. I think the Epstein files have been way more interesting to cover. You guys have appreciated that a lot more. But it is ironic that me hopping on here and sharing some ideas and some of my personal research with you guys without any editing is actually what you guys want a lot more than these well-edited documentaries that take a whole team of people to put together. So I'll be honest with you guys, might stop doing documentaries at a certain point. So just, I'm enjoying this channel more. I'm enjoying what I'm doing here way more. If you're interested in documentaries, go and check that out. Okay, I did do The Many Murders of Ryan Wedding. That was also really interesting, and that seemed to be a lot more what you guys are looking for. Ironically, nothing to do with hip hop. So just let me know what you guys think. If you want to go and see those videos, go and watch the clavicular documentary that I did. It will be very interesting. But anyway, that's enough for this video. I'm going to catch you guys later. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm out for now. Peace, guys.